What has been your experience with mental health? Have you been diagnosed? Did someone in your family have mental illness?
Well, my experience with mental health, when I was a very young child, we had a crazy aunt in the family. And my cousins and all called her the crazy aunt because she'd be perfectly normal one minute, and the next time she was off in La La Land, and we didn't know what was wrong with her, but she did have mental illness, and she ended up spending most of her adult life in later years in a mental institution. That's what they did back then. They put them in an institution. Back in I was born in the 40s, so in the back 50s and 60s, it was a no-no subject. You just did not talk about somebody that who you thought had a mental illness. When I was in school, we didn't talk about depression or mental illness, and there were kids in my class that were dealing with depression. In fact, I had a very good friend who was, and you could tell. That's why you kids need to watch out for your friends, because they show signs, and she showed signs of when it got worse. But at that time, she did not seek any help as far as medication and doctoring. But as she grew into adulthood, a woman with children, she did. And she was an entirely different person when she was on her medication. And I myself, I didn't have to deal with depression till I was a married woman, and when I had a child, it was a big. I didn't have it until I was 40 years old, and I'm not blaming that on my depression, but it had something to do with it. And as he grew older, he also experienced depression, more so than what I did. And he was on medication, but the medication didn't always work for him. We tried several different medications. But as far as there being a background of mental health illness in my family or our family, just the one aunt that I can think back on that was ever brought forward in that, because they kept things like that hush hush back when I was your age. They just didn't talk about it. Where now today, it's much more talked about. That's why you kids, you need to listen to your peers and just keep a little eye out for them, because there are signs that your friend may need some kind of help.
How did you get help? Did you see a professional or take medicine? Did someone help you navigate the next steps?
Yes, I did take medication. I'm still on that medication. I tried going off of it at one point. It didn't work. There's just something within you that you know that you need that medication, and when you do take it, I always said it takes the edge off of things. And it does. It does help you deal and cope with everyday life, what goes on. As I said to my doctor, I've been on this quite a while. Am I going to become an addict to this? And she said, no. She said, you could take these pills till the day you died. You never would become what we call an addict. That it's not that type of medication. It's just something you need for what you're going through. Well, when my son started showing signs of depression, his depression was so much deeper than what I had ever experienced that I didn't know how to help him. So I sought help from professionals. But he did not commit suicide, but he died of an overdose of medication, drugs. Um, he got a hold of something, he didn't know what it was, and took an overdose of it. And that no parent should have to experience. I wouldn't want your mother or anybody to go through that. Because one day he's there, next day he's gone. After our son passed away, I noticed my husband showing signs of depression, and he would not talk about it. He just, and it got worse and worse. And his solution was he turned to drinking. And so that put me in another form of depression because I was trying to help him. I had to do everything that he should be doing. I was doing what he should be doing as far as keeping the house up, the yard mowed and all that, because he just didn't anything to do with it. He did nothing but sit in the house and look out the window and drink a beer. So not only did he go from depression, he went to drinking. And that's not easy to live with when you're on the other side of that couple. It's just not a happy place to be. So I wouldn't think of going off my depression medication even now, because now I'm in another stage of my life where I sold my home of 40 years and moved somewhere else, and that's an adjustment. And
how did your church friends help you?
Well, my church, it took a while for my church friends to help me because I tried to hide it from them. And what I was going through at that time was the death of my son. And it was just easier for me to put a false face on and deal with it by myself. But there was a lady that went to church here, Marie Dwight. She just sat me down one day and said, hey, you need some help, now talk to me. And Marie and I became very good friends, and I could talk to Marie about anything, and she was always there to listen. So that's how my church friend helped me.
What did you wish someone had told you that you want to make sure and tell youth today?
When you kids have a problem like this, talk to somebody. Just talk to somebody. Whether it be your mom, dad, a friend, a grandparent, you need to talk to somebody and tell them what you're experiencing, because there is help out there, and you shouldn't be ashamed or embarrassed because you do feel this way. It's just something that it just happens. But but you need to talk about it, and you need to look out for your friends, because I can't imagine anything worse than having a friend your age or Zach's age or what is commit suicide. That's just awful, and it can be helped if you just talk about it. So if you have a problem, like, just come to me and talk to me. No, I'm serious. I mean that. Just find someone that you can talk things out with. Don't be embarrassed about it.